Making his second appearance on the Total Theater Tony Show, we have Jonathan Mandell. Now, you can read all his reviews at his own website. It's newyorktheater.me. And let's make sure we spell it the full New York, Newyork, theater spelled the ER way, .me. You can also, or have read him on TDF stages. He's written for American theater as well. And over the years, you've read him as a journalist and an arts journalist in Newsday, the Daily News, the New York Times, NPR. He is a Yale graduate. Taught at my alma mater, NYU, and my wife's alma mater at Columbia School. Well, she wasn't in the journalism school. Jonathan was. So welcome back, Jonathan, to the neighborhood for the Tony Show.
Thank you, Dave.
You're
I'm
welcome. Yeah,
featured actor in a play.
that's right. Let me read the list and then you can go through them. So we've got
Oh, okay.
Christopher Abbott in Death of a Salesman, Danny Burston in Marjorie Prime, Brandon J. Durden in Waiting for Godot, Aidan Ehrenreich in Becky Shaw. It might be Alden Ehrenreich. I should use my glasses on this. It's Alden Ehrenreich, excuse me. Ruben Santiago Hudson in Joe Turner's Come and Gone, and Richard Thomas in The Ballasters. So, now, Jonathan, your thoughts on featured actor in a play.
Well, what's interesting is that five of those six are Broadway veterans and stalwart New York theater actors. And the sixth one is the one that stands out in a couple of ways. Uh, Although all, give reliable performances, one of the advantages of a featured actor category is that unlike a lead actor, they have many more choices to pick. So they really tend to pick the ones that
Oh, you mean the nominators have more? Yeah, yeah,
solid.
well, yeah, got it, got it.
So let's go one by one through them.
Sure.
Christopher Abbott plays Biff, the disillusioned older son in Death of a Salesman. It's it's just his second role on Broadway. He's of the Broadway veterans. He's the one who's the sort of beginning. There's a my attitude about this production is a little different from what you'll probably hear from others. I see there's a lot of intense screaming in it, which impressed a lot of theater goers more than it did me. And he has this very intense confrontation at the end with his father, that people remember. But what struck me most here was that director Joseph Montello decided to double cast the part of both sons, so that besides Abbott, Biff, the older brother, is played as a teenager in earlier scenes by Joaquin Consuelos, if I pronounce that Consuelos
Maybe.
probably.
Yeah.
He's uh, the ripped son of Kelly Ripa, making his Broadway
Oh,
debut.
oh, of course, Mark Consuelo, so the kid. Right, got it. Okay.
Exactly. He's eager, energetic, athletic, and he wears this football uniform. And this forces a contrast with Christopher Abbott, who, by the way, in his bio, doesn't even mention his breakout role as the heartthrob in the 2012-2016 HBO series Girls. He depicts this aimless, slightly less buff Biff in sloppy sportswear, and so that we see how he's become 15 years later. That in this way, we more fully sense the toll of Biff's disillusionment with his father.
Hmm. So is that the
That
performance
to me
for
was more interesting than the
hmm,
screaming.
God, more than the screen? But what about in terms of his performance versus the others in the category? Will he be your vote?
I'm going to go one
Oh,
by
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. So
The next is Danny Burstein, who's, I
wonderful.
should point out this is Bernstein's 21st role on Broadway. He's been nominated for Tonys 8 times before and won once for Moulin Rouge. He is among Broadway's most reliable actors. He's always wonderful. in his roles, and in this one, he plays this patient, tender son-in-law uh, in Marjorie Prime, trying to do best both by his wife, his children, and his mother-in-law. And by the sort of by the nature of the role, it's solid. It's not supposed to stand out. He's offering support for everybody else,
Mhm.
but you feel for it. But again, it's a solid role rather than
Yeah.
uh, a standout one. So let's go to the next one. Brandon J. Durden as Pazzo. This is one of the examples. So Durden too is this is his first nomination, but he's been on Broadway for almost 2 decades. He was really great in Skeleton Crew and Take Me Out, the baseball play. Uh, but the nature of this role, it's kind of a cameo, and it fits what our notion of a featured player is, because he only has a couple of scenes. In this case, one of the reasons why he stands out is because he was menacing and humorous. He played Pazzo as a Southern good old boy and a bully at the same time. So it was humorous and also menacing. But also, to be honest, because he stood out because, how do I say this politely? Because the rest of the cast didn't particularly stand out.
This was
So,
the Waiting for Godot with Keanu Reeves and the other guy from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Did not get the best reviews. Yeah, yeah.
uh, so now we go to Alden Ehrenreich. I'm doing this alphabetically. If
Yeah,
I
sure,
was
sure. Alden
more
Ehrenreich. Yeah.
dramatic, I would wait with Alden to the end. But Alden Ehrenreich and Becky Shaw, he is the actor is this movie guy. He played the young Han Solo, among others, who is making his Broadway debut. He's never been on Broadway before in Gina Gianfrido's comedy about a blind date gone terribly wrong. And he plays Max Garrett, the guy on the date, who's a cynical money manager who seems from the start like a complete bore, so much so that it seems at first like a comic shtick. He has all these cynical lies like, don't, when he's very indifferent, insensitive to his friend whose father has died. And he says, don't pray, or if you do, don't squander it. Pray for money. Just is a comic character. But then suddenly you realize slowly it unfolds that he's actually very vulnerable and very sensitive. And I don't want to give it away, but he's been pining for his best friend since they were children and sort of not willing to admit it. And I'm pretty sure I saw his lips ever so slightly quivering with emotion. It was just very well done. This is he's made a really good uh, Broadway debut. And uh, I just want to say, though,
Hmm.
that if you ask me, he's the lead. It's about two people going on a date, and he's one
Yeah.
of the people going on the date, and the other one is Becky Shaw,
So why is he a
the
featured actor
plays
rather
named
than?
after.
Yeah.
Those two aren't the leads. They were determined to be the supporting players because the blind date was set up by a newly married couple, Susanna and Andrew. So, I mean, I don't know that they did this deliberately to promote his, but given that the amount of time, the amount of tension, and how great he is in it, it sort of favors him
Hmm.
in a way that is not just about his talent. It's about the setup of lead
Yeah.
versus
Right.
feature. So that's all I'll say. Now, the next one, Ruben Santiago Hudson, comes closer to your uh, what you would think of as best featured player because he has this. Well, first of all, this is his fourth Tony nomination. He's a veteran of a dozen Broadway shows, including his own solo show, Lackawanna Blues. and his Tony-winning role in August Wilson's Seven Guitars. He's been an interpreter of August Wilson for a very long time. He takes on and triumphs in what is clearly the most challenging character in the play, a character named Bynum Walker, who's called a conjure man. He has these long monologues about mystical occurrences. These are really arias in the distinctive rhythms of August Wilson. And he helps people find their song, or as he puts it, or as the boarding house operator portrayed by Cedric Entertainment explains it, he does all that old mumbo jumbo nonsense, all that heebie jeebie stuff. And it requires endurance, it requires pacing, it requires a sense of mastery of the rhythms, and it's sort of separate from the rest of the play. He gets these moments
Hmm.
to perform, which is sort of how you think of a feature as opposed to supporting it as a feature. He has his own moments to shine. And it's a wonderful performance.
Hmm. So we do have to move quickly. So we don't want to leave out Richard Thomas, who is in the Balusters. Some
Yeah,
quick about him. Yeah,
famous became famous, as you may know, as a young at a young age as John Boy in the Walters. But he's been on Broadway 16 times. He was nominated once before. He's another one of the stalwarts, and he has a very good role in this as a more typical supporting player. He plays a congenial head of this neighborhood association, but we eventually discover that he's secretly arrogant and power hungry and maybe a little bigoted. It is a lovely, nuanced performance that
so yeah.
he's using these balusters and violently, but all along it builds to that. So
So Jonathan Mandel, I have to ask you, you're a voter for the Drama Desk. It,
you
what did you, for featured actor performance, whom did you vote for?
well, I'm going to keep that my vote is quiet. What
Okay,
I will say is I'll be quite happy if either Ruben Santiago Hudson or Alden Enric,
they're in
I
like,
don't know
ah,
if you pronounce,
yeah.
are given the award, but actually any of them do a fine job. Um, I'm very mixed between the two
Okay.
as to, because they're so completely different performances. And as I said, there's the fix is in that he's really doing the lead.
Well, the fix is in here with us to know that Jonathan Mandel is so erudite and so well prepared to talk about these categories. It has been a pleasure to have you again in the neighborhood. Remember, everybody, to read Jonathan Mandel's reviews at newyorktheater.me. Have a wonderful Tony season and a wonderful Broadway season to come. Thanks,
Thank
Jonathan.
you, you too.
Bye bye.